Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Tech Tuesday lesson. Today you're going to become cosmic coders and learn how to program an alien spaceship zooming around planet Earth. In this video you will learn what a sequence is and, with just a handful of coding blocks, use Microsoft MakeCode Arcade to control an alien spaceship. I will then give you a few ideas as to how this skill can be used across the curriculum. Your learning intention today is to develop a sequence of instructions, and by the end of the video you can say you've been successful because you can identify what different coding blocks do, organise different coding blocks into a sequence to move a sprite, and check your sequence before moving the sprite. Now, before we move on, let's have a very quick discussion about your prior knowledge. I'm going to ask your teacher to pause the video to give you the chance to discuss the following. Do you know what a sequence is? And if you do, try explaining this to the rest of your class. Have you ever coded anything before? How did the blocks of code fit together? And what did you code? And finally, how do you think computer games know which way you want characters to move? Welcome back. Now, I asked if you know what a sequence is. A sequence is simply a series of things done or placed in a particular order. For example, the alphabet begins in this order: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That is the alphabet's correct sequence. We don't say C, G, B, F, D, A, E. That would not be the correct sequence. And it's the same with numbers. We count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. That is the correct sequence. Another sequence could be what you do when it is nearly playtime. First, you might go wash your hands, then you get your jacket, then you get your snack, and finally you might line up at the door. That is the sequence you carry out these tasks in. Now, when we use Microsoft MakeCode Arcade, we need to code a sequence of instructions in the correct order to make sure our character, or sprite, goes where we want it to go. When we move the joystick left, we want the spaceship to go left. Right when we move the joystick right. Up for up. And down when we press down. And what we definitely don't want is our spaceship to disappear off the screen. Get back here! Now, take a moment to make sure everyone is in the MakeCode Arcade website, and let's begin. After you open the Microsoft MakeCode Arcade site, your screen should look like this. Now, I have some extra projects here which you won't have on your screen, so please don't worry about that. The first thing we need to do is open a new project, and we do that by tapping or clicking on this orange New Project button here. Now, a pop-up box will appear asking us to give our project a name. Now, all I'll ask here is for you to type in your initials. For example, I will put in TT for Tech Tuesdays. If your name was Jack Page, for example, you would type a J for Jack and a P for Page. And if you're working with a partner right now, you could always take turns to type in both your initials. And if you really want to, and if you have a bit of time, you could always type in the word alien afterwards, but you don't need to do that. Now, feel free to pause here so that everyone has typed their initials before clicking on this green Create button here. Now, if this is your first time using MakeCode or even coding at all, you might be a bit worried about all the different things on this screen. But please don't worry, I promise it is very simple to use. Here on the left is our game simulator, and this is where your alien spaceship will appear. And you'll use this controller down here to move it around. It's kind of like having your very own handheld games console right here on the screen. Then we have our block categories or menus, which is right here. And this is where we find all the different types of blocks that we can use to create a game. Now, it does look like there's a lot because there are a lot, but we're only going to be using a few, and I will explain exactly what they do and how to use them. And then over here is our workspace, and this is where we drag our blocks of code to create our game. So if I just drag this one over here, and then let's say this one as well, you can see that we can connect them. Do that again, just like Jigsaw. We can move them around. We can rearrange them if we want. And if you don't want a block anymore, you just drag it right back over to the menu. That bin will appear and you can drop them in. There you go. And finally, if you look down here, you should see your initials that prove this is your project. Now that we have an idea of how MakeCode Arcade works, let's start coding. Now we can see this on the screen that our simulator is a little boring right now, not much fun at all. Our alien spacecraft will definitely want to zoom around something much more fun than this. So the first thing we're going to do is add a space background. Now to do that, we go into the scene block menu here. It's kind of dark blue colour and it's got a little picture of a tree on it. So click or tap on that. Excellent. Now the block of code we're looking for is this one here that says set background image to, and it is the 1, 2, 3, 4th one down, and you'll notice that it is the longest and widest of all the blocks on the screen. So if we hold down, click on it, then hold down or hold down with your finger and drag this over and just drop it here. Now you'll notice that this set background image 2 block is suddenly turned from dark blue to grey, and that's because it's not connected to anything. All the blocks need to be connected together like a jigsaw piece to make sure that they work. So to do that, we are going to hold down on it and drag it over to this green on start block. Now I like to call this block the Blockosaurus Rex, as it looks a bit like a dinosaur's mouth. And as you move other blocks towards it, it kind of opens its mouth to allow you to put the blocks inside. So let's do that. Watch the mouth open up, and let go, and it turns back to dark blue again. Perfect. Now, you may have noticed this little grey square here. If we tap or click on that, it takes us into the background menu. Now choose this middle option up here that says Gallery. And you'll see lots and lots of different great backgrounds, but we are going to choose this one down here that has a picture of planet Earth on it. So take your time to find that, and if you're working with other people, help them find it as well. If you tap on it or click on it, and then down to this green done button again, within a few moments you should see planet Earth appears on the screen. Now that we are floating in space with planet Earth below us, it is time to add a spaceship. First, go into the blue Sprites menu here. You'll see it's at the very top and it has a picture of a paper aeroplane. Now it's very easy because the only block we're going to use is right at the very top, and it's this long red one that says set my sprite to. So just like we did before, we're going to drag this over and attach it below the background image block, just like that. Great! Now we are going to choose our sprite. Now a sprite is simply a character or an object in a game that you can code. In this case, our alien spaceship. So just like we did with the background, tap or click on this little grey square here. And again, just like we did before, go straight up to this gallery button here. And you will see lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of brilliant different sprites. Now, I don't know about you, but if aliens did decide to visit Earth, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be flying about in a donut or a rubber duck or in an ice cream cone. No, I'm sure they would be in some kind of spacecraft. So there are two ways we can find all the space sprites. First of all, if you see this tiny little grey rectangle here, you could scroll down and keep going until you find all the space sprites, which is these asteroids. Or, and this is probably a bit easier, go into this white button here that says filter on it. So if I tap on that, and if you look at the bottom, 1, 2, the third one up has got a little square beside the word space. So if I tap on that, it gives us only the space sprites. Now you will see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different coloured spaceships, and you can choose whatever one you want. I think I'm probably going to go for the red one. Okay, so if I tap on red and then tap on the green done button once more, after a few moments my spaceship appears. Now feel free to pause, rewind and replay this section as much as is needed until everyone has their spaceship ready to fly. We now only have 2 more blocks to go before our alien friends can fly their spaceship around Earth. The first block will stop the spaceship from going off the screen and soaring off into another galaxy. So go back into the blue sprites menu, and you remember that's the one at the very top with the picture of a paper aeroplane beside it. And now this bit can be a little bit tricky to find. It's very easy to miss the block we're looking for, but if you scroll down, don't rush it, just scroll down until you see the first one that has this little green on button on it, and it says set my sprite stay in screen, and it's just below this one with the smiley face. So if you choose that and attach it underneath the red set my sprite block, and that now means that when we move the spaceship it won't go off the screen at all. Finally, we will control the alien spaceship. We go into a new block menu that we haven't used before, and it's this reddy brown one called Controller. And it's got a picture of a games controller on it. And wonderfully, we only need to look for the very top block, which is this one called Move My Sprite with Buttons. So let's drag that over, and make sure you put it at the very bottom underneath the blue Set My Sprite block. And we are done. And before we test our code, we need to remember that one of our success criteria was to actually check our sequence of instructions to make sure everything was okay before we move the spacecraft. So let's just check that when the game starts, we have a background image of planet Earth. Yep. You set your sprite to the spaceship. I've got a red one, you might have a different colour. We want to make sure our sprite stays in the screen and that's switched on, and we want it to move with the buttons. That all looks good to me. What do you think? Now, you might have noticed that I called this game Alien Orbit, and I've waited until all your coding was done before explaining what this means. An orbit is really just the journey that one object in space takes around another. So the moon orbits planet Earth because it goes around planet Earth, and planet Earth in turn orbits the sun, and so on. So to make our alien spaceship orbit Earth, you first need to go into full screen mode, which is down here. And if you're in an iPad, you can use the controller here to move your alien spaceship up, down, left and right. Or if you're using a keyboard, you can use the arrow keys, and we can start moving our spaceship. Congratulations, not only are you now champion coders, but you have just controlled an alien spaceship to visit us on Earth. Brilliant work everyone, I hope you have fun. Congratulations! You just learned to develop a sequence of instructions using Microsoft MakeCode Arcade. Your success criteria were to identify what different coding blocks do, organise different coding blocks into a sequence to move a sprite, and to check your sequence before moving the sprite. Now before we finish, let's take a moment to reflect on our learning today. Can you now explain what a sequence is? Think about some of the coding blocks you used today. What did some of the different blocks do? And did you spot any other sprite that you might quite like to code? I wonder which background you would choose to go along with that sprite. There are plenty of ways you can use what you've learned today. Here are some examples, but I'm sure you can come up with your own too. We always love discovering how you've been getting on, so please ask your teachers to share with us online at NL Digital School and using the hashtag NLTechTuesdays. All that's left now to say is thank you for joining us, happy coding, and I hope you come back for another Tech Tuesday.